Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Rope of Hope. I am your host, Kimberly Seja, and tonight I am joined by Sandra Cooze, and we are going to be discussing sexual trauma. So that is kind of the trigger warning for anybody who this triggers something within them. This is tonight's topic, and I completely understand if it is a trigger for you. I don't want to trigger anybody, but these are topics that do need to be discussed. So, all of that being said, welcome to the show, Sandra.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Of course. So, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Sandra Cooze. I live in Windsor, Ontario, originally from Germany. I'm an intuitive trauma release and self-empowerment coach, and I work with heart-centered women who yearn for a deeper meaning and purpose in life but are held back by their past. I help them to relieve unresolved trauma triggers, limiting beliefs, doubts, fears, and guide them towards discovering their full potential so they can rise up and claim their true place in this world.
Okay, so that's a lot. Now, what got you started down this path?
My own story.
Okay, I am going to let you, at this point, kind of take over and share your story with the world.
Okay. Well, I was molested when I was 12. I was sexually harassed when I was 14. I was bullied between the age of 16 to 17 in school. I was sexually assaulted multiple times between the age of 19 and 25. And I was raped when I was 22.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
So I guess we'll start with the first one. Was it somebody you knew? Or do you want to go into detail?
Sure.
We don't have to.
It's perfectly fine. I've healed from all my trauma. I have no issue at all talking about it.
Okay.
But thanks for asking.
Of course.
It was when I was 12, my mother made a wish come true for me, taking care of a pony. I mean, I was in love with horses, like every 12-year-old girl, I guess. But we didn't have the means to buy a horse or have riding lessons. So a friend of hers had a pony at a stable that she needed someone to take care of. And so she offered me to do that for free. And I was over the moon. So I was taking care of the pony, and the stable master was a man in his 60s. He promised my mom he would take care of me, make sure to teach me everything I needed to know, like how to brush the horse, how to feed him, how to clean his hoofs, and how not to get kicked or bitten while doing that. And he seemed very nice. But one day, he molested me. So in essence, I did know him. He was just not a family member.
And this is a topic that, is difficult at best to discuss, and even for me. Do you feel like his actions were grooming you for this?
I don't think so. I never felt uncomfortable with him. There was not one moment where I thought, this is strange, until the sexual assault happened. So no, there was never any indication or anything. It was just a nice old man.
Was it just a one-time thing at 12?
Yes, because I told my mom, and I was lucky because she believed me. So she took me out of a situation and never went back there. And it only happened once. Sometimes I wonder, what if I hadn't told my mom and had to continue going there, what would have happened? But luckily I didn't.
And then you went into, you were 14, I think you said, and you were sexually harassed.
Yes. It was on a vacation in Austria. Now, Germany, Austria is 5 hours from us, so we went there like every year twice. We went hiking, and we always stayed in the same hotel. And we were almost like family. I mean, my grandparents already went there, so they knew us, and we always went there, and we loved the time there. And the hotel owner had this terrible habit of drinking welcome shots with the guests. So the hotel was always booked solid. So by the end of the night, he was drunk, and it was their own brew. So, yes. And he had this vice of touching women's breasts just to feel them up, but just that, nothing else. And so women endured it because they knew there was no ulterior motive other than that. Now, when I was 14, he tried to come at me, but I said no, and I ran away. Now, at that time, my parents were, I think, out for a walk or something, and my sister and I were alone in a hotel, in a restaurant, drinking something, waiting for them. And I kept running away from him and kept yelling no, but he just kept on chasing me. For him, it was a game. He just wouldn't let me go. I was terrified. I was upset. I was furious that he would not take my no and leave it at that. So when my parents finally came back, I ran to my mom and I was crying. And I said, he tried to touch me. And I said no, and he wouldn't let me go. He wouldn't leave me alone. And my mom tried to laugh it off a little, to diffuse the situation. And she was saying to him, well, you can't do this. She's a little girl. She doesn't know that you don't mean any harm by that. Now, today, I understand that it was my mother's own issues with men, like as authority figures to speak up and say, here, don't do this to my daughter. But back then, I felt like I was dismissed. So even though he never touched me, but this feeling of my no is not important really made it difficult later in life.
Right. And that makes perfect sense, because that's exactly where my head went of, you feel very dismissed.
Yeah.
So I know there was more assault after that. Was it in those situations, was there the no and it was ignored?
No, that was actual sexual assault, meaning I was touched.
No, I grasp that. I know a lot of victims, they do try to say no, even and when the assault occurs, they're still saying no, and it still progresses. Did you have that happen at that time as well?
I did. It was when I was about 25. I was dancing in a Cuban club with my friends, and I was dancing with a young Cuban man, and he was holding me so tight that I could feel his lower body parts against mine, rubbing and growing. And I tried to push him away, and he just wouldn't let go. No matter what I tried, he wouldn't let me go. And I was basically assaulted on his dance floor.
So where did things go from there?
Well, that night or in general?
Both.
Okay. Well, that night after that, I just went home. I remember I was talking to my friends and telling them what happened, and they were like, yeah, we saw that. Why didn't you push him away? But none of them thought that, hey, maybe she needs help. So this was the last time I ever went dancing, because I just lost all my passion for dancing after that.
So through all of these events, did they end up affecting relationships that you had with people?
Yes, it did. Well, first of all, I was terrified of men, but at the same time, I was looking for love. I was always waiting for Prince Charming to come on his white horse and whisk me away, and life would be perfect after that. And so I always sabotaged my relationships. First, everything was great, like, the honeymoon phase, the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then once things started to settle and getting more serious, I just took a complete 180 and I started calling them all the time. And whenever they didn't call back or didn't call me, I felt like they didn't want me, they didn't love me. And it was exhausting, And for the longest time, I didn't realize what I was doing until the last boyfriend I had before I met my husband. He actually gave me that big clue that helped me understand what I was doing. We had been dating for 2 to 3 months. There was usually the maximum before relationships just broke apart. And he said, well, I've just been married to someone with mental issues. I really don't want to be in a relationship with one who is the same. And he didn't say that mean. He just said it as a fact. And I'm really glad he did, because this made me think, this made me look at myself and say, okay, what am I doing in relationships? How am I behaving? And then I saw the pattern of what I was doing, like this vicious cycle over and over, from turning into the loving person into this fury almost. And so after that, I said, okay, I'm not going to have another relationship until I like the person who I want to be in a relationship. Something must have shifted, because 3 months later, I met my husband.
So what did that process look like of learning to be the person that you wanted to be through that?
It's all self-reflection. It's really everything. Trauma healing is a self-reflection. So I was looking at myself without judgment, just looking how I was behaving in relationships. And then I saw what I was doing, how I was sabotaging every relationship. I started to notice how I was feeling, like this fear of rejection, this fear of being loved, because I had never really experienced love. So I had no idea what that felt like. And I realized how I was bending myself like a pretzel, trying to be what I thought my boyfriend wanted, rather than just being myself. And all of this was just from self-reflection, really honestly looking at myself. And that's how I started to understand. And I started to see what I had to change within myself. And I went from there.
So basically, Erin, it was kind of like learning who you were.
Yes.
Out, on your own, away from everybody else.
Exactly.
So looking back on it now, and I know a lot of people, I'm going to use myself as an example, because I was sexually assaulted as a child for a much longer time frame. And I know now as an adult that it would have stopped had I said something sooner, because I had the full support of my mother. But I was fearful. I was afraid. I had, threats and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that having your mother react as quickly as she did, and with as much support and love as she did, made a difference?
Yes, it did. Well, my mother took me out of the situation, but we never talked about it again. So still, I had the issue of processing that. I mean, I was 12. I had no idea what happened. I had no idea why he did what he did, what that meant. So once I started to understand when I was 16, then when everything came rushing back, what happened before, that was a difficult time, because I realized that, yes, my mother took me out of that, but still, I didn't get any support after that. She just hoped that I would forget about it.
So there were no legal charges or anything like
No.
that?
I asked my mom once why we never pressed charges, and she said that she didn't want me to go to court and have to talk about all of this again. I totally get that now, but then I thought, well, this was my body. I should have had a say in that.
So going through the healing process, what was the hardest part of that for you?
I think the hardest part for me was releasing the physical sensations of the assaults so that I would feel comfortable with my husband, you know. And there were times for a long time where I felt disgusted by the touch. So and really healing that took a long time.
What was the best part of it?
The best part of it was the liberation. Like, it's once you heal your trauma, you feel so free, you feel so empowered because you can overcome this, you can overcome anything. I was basically battling myself, my own demons, and I won. So I got my life back and more.
Well, I'm so proud of you, first off.
Thank you.
I think it's amazing. As someone who's been there, I do understand the struggle. For anybody who is watching this, if this is something that you have dealt with or are dealing with, please reach out. Reach out to anybody and ask for help. And if you feel like you don't have anybody, by God, send me a message. I will talk to you. But ask for help, because no person, man or woman, should ever have to feel this way. It's not right. And know that it's never your fault. That is something that I battled for years personally. Mm-hmm. It is never your fault. Didn't realize this episode was going to be as emotional for me as it is. Thank you so much, Sandra, for coming on and sharing this with us, sharing this with anybody and everybody who's watched it. I know we had a couple viewers on during the live. Anybody who watches it after the fact, thank you for sharing. Again, you guys, ask for help if you need it, because there's a world of people that are willing to help you and ready to help you. Sandra is going to put some information on the page so that you can contact her if you would like to reach out to her to work on trauma healing. She is an amazing resource, and we definitely want to make that available for all of you if you need it. So I will be back again next week with another episode. I can't remember offhand what it's about because my brain is gone right now. But I will be back again next week. Also, in the month of June is Pride Month. All throughout the month of June, there will be bonus episodes of people sharing their Pride experiences of coming out, experiences of transitioning, etc. So definitely you're going to want to tune in. You're going to want to, be a part of this. If these stories, you guys, are touching your soul, if they're making you feel some sort of way, if they're inspiring you, and you want to support this podcast, all you have to do is go to buymeacoffee.com/thisfatgirllife. Your listener support is what helps make productions like this and puts information like this out. It makes it possible. Couldn't do it without you. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Again, Sandra, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.